So this is going to be a pretty niche video for maybe like 5 people who happen to be subscribed to me and also happen to be applying to something that requires a personal statement. But sadly, I saw a tweet and now I want to talk about it. I'm sorry. Before I get into the tweet, I should state very clearly that this video is going to toe the line on advice for applying to graduate school, which I need to tell you right away, do not take advice on applying to graduate school. You need to talk to like 10 people, like your undergraduate advisor, your research advisors, talk to current grad students, talk to people who applied to the program you want to go to last year and find out what they did. And take all the advice from all those people, including losers on YouTube, apply it to your specific personal situation. Because everybody is different. Everybody is applying to different programs. They have different backgrounds. Like, I am just trying to avoid the comments on this video where they're like, well, actually, I didn't need a research statement for graduate school. So why are you spreading misinformation about graduate school? And So the tweet, I am off Twitter in that I stopped tweeting in November and I kind of just look at it not nearly as often as I used to. So now when I see a tweet, I just respond to people in real life. Like, have you seen this ridiculous tweet? That's what this is right now. Isn't that embarrassing? Am I the worst? Here's the tweet. It's not the real tweet. I don't want to like shame someone for tweeting. That's the worst part of Twitter, is that it makes me mean, and I don't want to be a mean person. So I am not going to shame this man and put it on a YouTube video that maybe 200 people will see when he only has like 200 followers on Twitter. Like, this tweet isn't that serious. He doesn't deserve to be canceled over this bad take. It's fine. Like, it's fine. So I'm just gonna give you a facsimile of that tweet. Here it is. Dear astrophysics graduate student applicants, please note that saying you looked up at the stars as a child is not nearly as interesting as you think it is. Signed, a new prof. That's the tweet. I wanna make this more general. So like, if you're applying to astrophysics graduate school, you would say, I looked up at the stars as a child. If you're applying to film school, you would say, I was enchanted by the cinematography of the Lord of the Rings movies. If you're applying to dinosaur school, you would say, as a child, I had a formative experience at a museum where I thought I was digging for real bones, but it was just like an activity. And on and on and on. Just like the general stereotype of a person who is really interested and excited and has been talking about going into this field for a long time. Whatever that would be, every time I say looking at to the stars, just imagine that for your field. And he's suggesting that it's not original to say this because, as someone who has sat on those committees and looked through applications, I want to say like 90% of personal statements have 2 paragraphs of the 2-page limit dedicated to my interest in thing as a child. And it's bad. It sucks. It's not a good personal statement. I don't want to be a mean person. And of course, because it's Twitter, everyone just read this in the most cruel way possible, and it went viral for astrophysics academic Twitter standards, meaning I saw like 8 people quote tweet it with like their hot takes. And those hot takes kind of ranged from like old men being like, graduate school's too easy these days. Why are they writing personal statements instead of taking exams? All the way to like, how dare you make fun of these children who just want to go to graduate school? How dare you? They don't know, they're little babies. And with all things on Twitter, the truth, the real answer, the real hot take, which I deem myself completely 100% able to give and be correct, is somewhere in the middle. So like, obviously this guy is wrong. Graduate school has never been harder to get into. These stakes are never higher than right now. Like, some schools are requiring like first author papers, like publications, to get into graduate school. That's insane. That's messed up. It's never been harder to get into graduate school. And secondly, graduate students are not children. Graduate school is a job. They are applying to a job. This is also wrong. In the middle is where the answer is. First, I don't think it's very nice to mock these students, these job applicants on Twitter. The people who write bad personal statements are always going to be your first generation students, your international students, people who maybe English isn't their first language, or they're the very first person in their entire family that they know of to go to school, and they want to apply to graduate school, but they don't really know what it is. They don't know how to do it. And when they look on the applicant website and it says, write a personal statement, they think, of course, I'll write a personal essay about my life in relation to topic. So if you are applying to astrophysics graduate school, you would talk about how you were interested in space as a small child. That makes sense. It's incorrect. That's not what a personal statement is, but it makes sense that people would think that, and I think it's not nice to make fun of them. But also, this hot take of being annoyed by this, like, it's valid. I have been in these rooms where you are going through 400 applications with the committee to get that number down to 10 applications, which means you literally have to read 400 personal statements where 386 of them are like their childhood story. And it's inappropriate. It's not what's supposed to be in a personal statement, and it's not good. So in this video, I'm going to explain why that's not good. And I hope to not make a habit on making videos about tweets, because that's so pathetic. In order to explain why your personal statement sucks, I need you to put yourself in the shoes of the people who make the decision. You get 400 applications. You have 10 spots and maybe like 12 wait lists that you're gonna extend. So you are sitting in a small conference room with like usually something like 2 graduate students, a postdoc, and like 3 or 4 associate professors, because like the tenured professors would never. And you're all gonna read the things beforehand and then like discuss and just chop down the list until you get 10 and like you wanna be done by 5 p.m. You send in 7 things in your application. So you send them $100, scam, 3 reference letters, a CV, a research statement, and a personal statement. 7 things, and that's it. That's all you are to this group of people. And here I would like to remind you, some people had different things when they were applying to graduate school, and that's okay, and that's fine. Just breathe. It's okay if every video is not 100% accurate to your expectations, and if you had a different experience, leave a comment below. Tell us about your field and how it was different. I applied to physics graduate school. I've been on committees for physics and astrophysics graduate school applications. That is what I know. I bet you could extend it to your situation while keeping in mind that it's unique for everybody, okay? Just breathe. It's okay if the world isn't catered to your exact lived experience. It's fine. Okay, the 7 things. First of all, let's talk about this $100. That's a mess, right? What's that $100 for? In the past, it used to be like, we take that $100 and we use that pot to fly the 10 accepted students out and show them the campus and do like some soft interviews and like introduce them to the labs. And I'm curious how that costs that much money. Like if you get 400 applications at $100 each, how much are 10 flights? But they're not flying the international students in, and that's like half. So how much are 5 flights? And they're not paying for hotels because they ask the current graduate students to host them in their homes. Like that's a normal thing. Like I'm supposed to invite a stranger from Nebraska into my home just because they got accepted to graduate school? Like I'm happy to go to dinner. Am I supposed to make them sleep on my couch in my studio apartment? Do you know how much you pay me as a graduate student? I'm supposed to host someone? That is a mess. I never did that, but people did. I can't believe they even ask. That is insane. But since COVID, they've been offering like a Zoom interview option. So like, where's the money going? I understand that they put $100 price tag on the application because if they didn't have that like barrier to entry, every single student would apply to every single program just in case they happen to get in, and you would get all these lousy, mediocre applications that no one spent any time on. You wouldn't really know who actually wants to come to the program. So like, you pay $100 to show that you want to go for real, but it's kind of messed up. And also because, as you'll see, it's kind of just a random lottery. That means the rich people who can afford to apply to like 27 programs get like 27 golden tickets and like one chance to get in, whereas if you're poor, you like have to pick your top 3 and you only get 3 golden tickets, and that's not fair. I don't like that. We're sitting in our conference room. We have 400 applications. We want to cut this down to 10. Cancel the $100. There's 6 documents left. You start looking at the CV and making cuts. So this is where you'll see like a GPA cut, like everybody with below a 3.0 is out of the pile. And I'm not saying you cut at 3.0. It would be different each year. It would be different what program. Like medical school, I think you have to get a 4.0. I've never seen anyone in any of these rooms I've been in like debating if someone with a 3.6 is as good as a 4.0. Like nobody cares as long as it's above some threshold. You start cutting if people have majors that don't really align. Like you applied to a linguistics program, but you have a chemistry degree. That doesn't make sense. Or like, it could even be up to things that aren't even in your control. Like maybe they just hired 3 new assistant professors that do condensed matter theory. So they need a bunch of graduate students that are interested in condensed matter theory to fill those labs. So when you write your application, even if it's perfect, if your CV has like this huge background in like atomic experiment physics, they're gonna be like, oh, we don't want this person. Right, so you go through whatever your program's looking for that year and you toss out the applications that don't fit that based on the CV. And through that, you'll lose like 100, right? So now you have 300 applications for 10 spots. You've gone through the CV. That doesn't matter anymore. All of these 300 people have a good CV. They all have the good background, like it's fine. Next thing you look at are the reference letters. And reference letters are really annoying because sometimes they're like 3 pages long when really they could be yes or no statements, right? You ask for a strong letter of recommendation and the person writes this long flowing letter about how you're so exceptional and you're so much stronger than your peers mathematically. And if you're a woman, they'll write about what a good team worker you are and how nice you are. So those are either yes or no, right? Like a no reference letter looks like, I had Colin for Chemistry 107 in the spring of 2022 and he received a B+. Like, that means Colin didn't have anyone to ask. He asked a random professor he had, and that professor was like, I can't really write you a strong letter because I don't really remember you, but I will write what I know, I guess. And Colin is like, yeah, I guess. And that's a no, right? So you go through all the reference letters, you throw out all the people who for some reason asked a professor whose course they cheated in to write them a reference letter, and the professor is like, oh yes, I will write you a reference letter. He cheated, or he got fired from my lab, or she was not a very good student, and those people get thrown out. So as I said, the reference letters though, they're either yes or no. Like there's no frilly, flowerful, beautiful, wonderful written reference letter that would make someone go, this person automatically gets in. Unless someone really super famous wrote your letter. Nepotism. Next. The CV knocked out like 100 people. The reference letters knock out like 50 because most people know to ask for strong letters, and most professors are honest enough people to be like, I will not write you a strong letter. And if a professor says that to you, say, thank you so much for telling me, and find someone else. So you have 250 applications left for 10 spots, and you only have 2 documents left, right? Your research statement and your personal statement. What you look at next in my personal opinion, is the most important document in your application, which is the research statement, usually like 3 pages long. You detail the research you did in undergrad, and you kind of wrap that and weave that into a beautiful little statement of what you want to do in graduate school and why the specific program you are applying to, you must write this specifically for each application, is the one for you. So you need to research the website and look at the labs and make lots of factually correct statements about the work you have personally done and the work you want to do. I say factually correct because saying something stupid in your research statement, even though it's like an honest mistake and it can happen to anybody, will get your application tossed. If you accidentally say something like, I used the Chandra X-ray Observatory to look at radio wavelengths, it'll be like, that doesn't make any sense. Or if you say, I did this laser experiment to look at electrons in the nucleus, that doesn't make any sense. You don't even understand what you did. Throw it out. And I think this is where most people get thrown out, because they don't have their advisors read their research statements, or sometimes people will reference research that doesn't even happen at the program they're applying to. Like imagine you are applying to a ecology biology program and you want to work with animal habitats, and you just talk and talk and talk about how you love big apes and you're so excited to work with linguistics and chimpanzees and their habitats, and you're applying to this school that only has dolphins. And they're like, why would she write this giant application about apes when we don't have any apes? Why would she apply here? She won't be happy here. Throw it out. It doesn't matter what your other documents look like. Your application does not make sense. So this is where most people get thrown out. Have your undergraduate advisor read your research statement. It's the most important thing. Next, we're down to 50 people, okay? We started with 400 people. We are down to 50. All 50 of these applications are awesome. They have good CVs, they have good letters that say yes, and their research statement was interesting and accurate, and they are all talking about research they will do at this program. Any one of those 50 people would be a great candidate for this program. And this is why I said it's like a numbers game. Any one of these 50 people would be great. They would do great work. They would be doing great work. They would be acceptable graduate students to finish the program and produce research for the university, right? They would be fine. At this point, in my personal opinion, I think you should just do a lottery system. But that's not what happens. You read a personal statement. That is your last document. You have made it to the top 50. Your application is perfect. You have your last moment to impress upon the committee that you are an amazing candidate for this program. Not only is this program perfect for you, you will enhance this program. You will be a great student. And you have 2 pages to do this. And you've chosen to spend 2 paragraphs of these 2 pages, a third of these 2 pages, talking about how when you were a kid, you liked space. I would very specifically like to say, I do not think this will count against you. No one's gonna be like, this loser likes space, toss them out. But it doesn't add anything. You have these 2 pages to shine, to be an exciting, interesting candidate. And you said you liked space when you were a kid. I don't know how to impress upon you that in the group of the 50 best applicants to an astrophysics program, every single one of those people likes space. You liking space is just a fact. It's not interesting. It's not really evidence that you would be a good candidate for this program because all these people like space. As I said, generalize this. You're applying to film school. All of those people liked Steven Spielberg. You're applying to volcano school. All of those people, volcanology, all of those people did a volcano experiment in 2nd grade with baking soda and stuff. It's just, It's nothing. It's like those people who can't get dates and they're like, I don't understand why I can't get a date. I'm nice. And it's just like, nice is the floor. Everybody's nice. What else do you have? Everybody likes space. What else do you have? And that's what I mean when I say this sucks. Like, you've already made it so far into this application process. You are one of the top candidates, and only 1 in 5 people is gonna get a yes. And you did not use these 2 pages wisely. You did not say why you're a good candidate. I would really quickly like to rapid fire some other things you shouldn't say in a personal statement, because again, this is a job application and this is not a personal essay. So do not talk about your boyfriend or your girlfriend and where they're planning to go to graduate school. Saying something like, my girlfriend applied to the University of Cincinnati Law School, so I would like to go to this physics department, doesn't add to your application. All it says is like, okay, but if your girlfriend gets into the University of Louisville's law school, y'all are moving to Kentucky, because why would you be in Ohio when you could be in Kentucky? Am I right? That looks bad in your personal statement, because it's like, well, maybe this guy doesn't really want to go here. He just wants to go wherever his girlfriend goes. For the same reason, don't talk about the location. Like, don't say like, I want to go to this school because I really like skiing. It just doesn't add anything. The personal statement needs to be about you personally and also the program you're applying to. I'm gonna say something controversial. I don't think you should mention like any family issues or mental health struggles. I'm not saying that it's bad to have them, and I don't even think it would negatively affect your application, but again, it doesn't add anything to it. I don't think your depression is going to affect your graduate school experience, but I also don't think your employers necessarily need to see it on a job application. It doesn't take away anything, but it also doesn't add anything to your application. You know what I mean? Like, if you are going to need accommodations when you get into graduate school, that's fine. You deserve those, get those. But after you've been accepted is the time to talk about them, if that makes sense. I stand by it. I just personally, in my personal opinion, for me personally, I don't think that stuff is appropriate for a personal statement on a job application. Okay, so now, here we are. You're still in the top 50, and your personal statement is clean now. It's 2 pages of blank. And you're probably saying, what the hell do I write in this? And what is a personal statement? And to that, I would say, I don't know. I don't like them. I don't think they should exist. I already said at this point, I think there's no difference in doing a lottery system. Like, are we seriously just going on vibes? Like, who seems chill? Who seems fun? I don't think any of that stuff actually determines how good you will be as a graduate student. I don't like these. I don't know what they are. Abolish the personal statement. But that's not a good way to end a video where I said I would toe the line on advice. So let me tell you some things I have seen in personal statements that worked, that were good, that enhanced an application, because that's what you want to do. By the time people are judging your personal statement for vibes, you have already proven that you are a good candidate. So you just need to enhance that application. Here are some things. People use personal statements to explain like bad GPAs or interesting majors. Like, again, I don't think you should talk about like family struggles or mental health issues, but saying something like, I had a really rough semester sophomore year due to personal issues. You can see I've recovered from that, and I've gotten A's in all my major courses since then, but that explains why my GPA is so low. Perfect. If you are an art major applying for a chemistry program, you need to spend a paragraph explaining why your interest in art is attached to your interest in chemistry. And oh, by the way, if you look at my attached transcript, you'll see that I took all the chemistry classes. And then it's like, oh, that's actually really interesting. It's not an odd major to apply for a chemistry program. It's interesting. Some advice I received in graduate school that I thought was really helpful, your mileage may vary, this is just like my opinion, man, was to act in academia, like the level above where you are, like, dress for the job you want. So when I was a graduate student, I was acting like a postdoc. Like, I was making my own research contacts without my advisor being involved. I was starting to do my own projects, write my own papers. And then as a postdoc, I was acting like a professor, like I was teaching courses, I was getting grants. So if we extend that advice to being an undergrad, act like a graduate student. Start TAing for courses if you can. Start doing outreach if you can, and talk about that stuff in your personal statement. Talk about your teaching skills. Talk about how you did an outreach event for elementary schoolers and you really like doing that. And oh, by the way, I saw that on the program website, you guys have this outreach group that I would love to join. It just shows that you did your research about the specific program you're applying to and the things you want to do, why you're a good candidate. So it doesn't mean you can't talk about your childhood at all. No. I mean, if you have a really interesting background, like if you are the first person from your small town in Sri Lanka to come to America and go to graduate school, and you are going to get a physics degree so you can go back and be the first physics teacher at that small rural high school, because in the past everyone had to go to the town to get physics. Like, that's really interesting and exciting. Like, oh, what an interesting background. Perfect. I was actually thinking about the difference in like someone who's like in high school. I was really interested in string theory and I read Michio Kaku books, right? Like, that's not interesting. Like, everyone who's interested in physics as a high school student read popular science books, but you can compare that to Michio Kaku, who is rumored to in high school have built a particle accelerator in his garage. Like, that's interesting. That shows some technical skills. That is a thing you would put in a personal statement about a thing you did as a child. But just reading books is like not that interesting. We all do that, right? Yeah. So your mileage may vary. Follow your own dreams. Take lots of people's advice, except not like your mom's. Take advice on being an academic from people who have experienced academia. Like, your random uncle is gonna tell you to just call the department chair and tell him you're interested in the school. Drop off a resume, and that's bad advice. Yeah. Only the real ones stay till the end. So I'm gonna give one last, it's advice. I hate giving advice. This is the only video I will ever do on graduate school advice, which is why I wanna say, if you get accepted to graduate school, you need to be paid a stipend. You do not pay for graduate school classes. You get paid, okay? There's like two types of graduate school, right? Like, there's training programs like medical school, veterinary school, library science, and lots more, like education school, where law school, right? Where you do this school and then you take some sort of certification exam and you become a thing. Those you usually pay for. I'm talking about over here. If you do research, if you work for the university, you need to be paid for that work. So like science, physics, philosophy, English. If you're getting an art restoration degree, that's a training program. But if you're getting an art history degree and you are doing research, you need to be paid. So if your acceptance letter does not list you will be funded for 5 years and you will receive a stipend of this much, you did not get in. It's a scam. They are scamming you into paying for graduate school to support the people they actually want there by paying them. That sounds really mean to say, but it's true. This philosophy school was like, oh, sorry, you didn't get into our PhD program, but you can attend this master's program that's like a different master's. And it was like a scam. Like, they phrased the letter like, well, if you pay for this 2-year master's degree for $300,000, maybe eventually you could get into the PhD program, except literally no one ever got into the PhD from the master's program, and the master's program just funded the PhD program. That's a mess. That's a scam. That's upsetting. Can you imagine applying for a PhD and they're like, no, but you can do a master's? No, you applied for a PhD. I'm going to tell you a really embarrassing story. When I was finishing my PhD, so like before I even was a postdoc, I applied for a bunch of postdocs, but also some faculty jobs at like small, like community college, like small schools where I was like, I would be a good candidate for this. Like, it's not a big R1, it's like a small school. And I did okay. And I got one like phone interview and they were like, great job, come out for the interview. And it was 2019, so it was before. And I did all the whole in-person interview with the 30-minute meetings, and I gave the talk and I taught an example class and didn't hear anything. And I was like, guess I didn't get that job, but that's okay because I took a cool postdoc. And since I didn't hear anything, which is how it goes, like they just ghost you, even though they met you and shook your hand, like whatever. 8 months later, like I'm in a postdoc, I have moved across the country. They sent me an email, and in the email, it was like, Angela, thank you so much for coming to our interview. And it's like, babe, it was 8 months ago, but whatever. And they said, we interviewed 3 people and you happen to be our 3rd choice, which like, that's not very nice. You could just say I didn't get it. You don't need to tell me what number I was, but like, fine. And then they said, I regret to inform you the position has been canceled. So like they lost the funding for the position. They were not gonna hire anybody. And it's like, fine. You didn't need to tell me I was 3rd place for a job that doesn't exist anymore. That is not nice. And then further down in the email, they said, but we would encourage you to apply for this position. And I was like, why would they want me if I was 3rd place? And I clicked on it, and it was a part-time adjunct position teaching 1 class contract. So for 1 semester, for $300 a credit hour, which is $900. I actually didn't apply to be an adjunct. I applied to be an assistant professor. How dare you respond to my application being like, or you can apply for this much less prestigious position for way, way, way less money and no job security? Not nice. What a blow to my confidence. Good thing I was already in a postdoc. Can you imagine if I hadn't gotten any job and I got that letter just like, oh, I guess that's where I'm at. It was in Ohio.